So I was asked the question on YouTube and just one of the comments about how I did the power steering pump. And it is an electric power steering pump. It's not running off the engine. So I did remove all the power steering lines, the factory Porsche ones that went from the back all the way to the rack. So I took that all off. And you come right off the rack, the stock rack, to an electric pump. So let me show you the placement of the kit that Chavez gets with his power steering pump kit. That's the one I used. I'll show you where they put it. I'll show you where I put it, and then some of the routing. And I'm also going to touch on the gas tank venting. You'll see why it kind of plays a role when I get into it. Anyways, let me show you what's going on. I'll tear some stuff apart so you can see what's happening. All right, so first thing first, I'm going to show you with the panels back on what it looks like, but let's just show you what it looks like when it's off. So this is the electric power steering pump installed here. There is a mounting bracket that comes with it, but where Chavez actually installs it is right down here in the corner, actually. So it does mount in this corner and kind of is right here in the middle of your frunk, basically. One of the other guys on the Porsche swapped forum on Facebook showed a different way, and I just basically followed his lead, but I'm just going to go over how I did it. But really kudos goes to him. I didn't like the idea of it sitting here. I felt it takes up trunk space, didn't look good, so I went a different route. One note on that though is you can't use the hoses that come with the Chavez kit because they're too short. They're made to go here in the corner, and I'm moving up here. So you need to go with a 4-foot line. I got one off of eBay that's used for nitrous. I'll put a link in the description. And the bracket that it comes with, you have to do some refabrication. So I think you can kind of see here, there is a bracket kind of mount there, and that's for where the carbon canister goes. So that carbon canister, those mounts right there, the carbon canister or charcoal canister that's there is where the fuel vents into. And so you can use those mount points for the bracket that you're going to use to hold the power steering pump. Now, I did sort of mention, I'm going to take it aside here and talk about a little bit about that. So underneath the bottom, try to see if you can see it. Give me 1 second, I'm going to get a flashlight. All right, sorry about that. I had to grab my flashlight because you could hardly see what the hell's going on here. Yeah, so if you can see under there, you might see there's a black, well, it's kind of a silver. There you go. Kind of. There you go. You can see that rubber grommet that's under there? That's a rubber grommet. It's 80 millimeter I installed there. When you take the carbon canister off, it has these two fittings. You just push, they're a push button that pop off the carbon canister. And then the canister comes out. It's a bit of a pain in the butt, but the cool thing is the thicker line that's there, what I had done is I tied the thicker line to the thinner line, and the thinner line runs to the back, and I put a fuel vent on the back towards the engine. Unfortunately, when filling up the gas, there was too much back pressure resistance and basically couldn't get any gas in it. So I disconnected that, and I ran off of that port there, and trying to see any way to see it. You really can't see it. I'm going to put a link to the fitting I used to go into the factory connection. But you run a hose through here, and then it goes to where there is a port there. You can sort of see the hose clamp there at the bottom, and it's into a vent. That's a boat vent that's there, and it's big enough where it doesn't clog the hole, because that hole is intended for water to get in and out. So I'm able to put it there. I'll show a picture. You probably should see it now. So that's what the vent looks like. So it works pretty good. I was able to fill up no problem after doing that. Okay, so why did I mention that? Because you have to make sure that you have enough clearance in your bracket to make sure you can get the hose out, and then you're going to run it through. Now, let's get back to the power steering pump. See, the power steering pump, it's mounted here, and then the electrical goes to the battery. So you've got a main power line that goes to the battery. You do have a factory ground point here you can use for ground, so that was good. You can see the braided line, that's my high pressure line that goes in front of the battery here. And then I've got my low pressure line goes behind the battery. They both go over to here. Let's move some panels out of the way. There we go. So they go to here, grab my flashlight. You can see down there, there is a factory grommet. There you go. There you go. Down there's a grommet that grommet you can go right through, and it does lead down to the power steering rack, and you can just mount it there. So that's pretty much it. Now let me just put some panels back on so you can kind of see what it looks like. So you just take a hole saw, cut a hole. Just gives you a bit of a factory look. I was trying to make it so it was completely flush, but with the height of the pump, you can see getting to a factory fully flush thing wasn't gonna work. But so you just stick this on like that. And then there's the connection there. So looks pretty nice and flush. I'll just throw these ones all back on. Where's my other one? So throw this one back on. This is a little trickier to do one-handed, the way that this goes together, but whatever. There you go, sorted. And then throw the battery cover back on. One, two. There you go. Nice and flush, and it works great. Power steering's great. Haven't had any issues with it. Kind of the cool thing is, if you want to move the car around, you just have to turn the key, and you can get power steering to move the car around. You don't have to actually start it. Anyway, yeah, so that's it. Hopefully that helps you out. Hit me up if you have any more questions. Thanks. Yeah, there's one last thing I forgot to mention. There's 3 wires that go to the power steering pump. The 2 thicker wires are power and ground, so those are fairly obvious. But the 3rd wire is like a controller, like a relay. So you connect that to the C6 just with a fuse tap. And the way that you get there is just behind the battery. There's a grommet that faces towards the cabin, and you can push that wire through. It comes right through above the pedals. You'll have to kind of reach underneath the dash and grab it. But you can feed it through, you can get it right to the fuse panel. So that's the one last wire you have to do. So I forgot to mention that when I was showing it all apart. I've got it all back together. I didn't want to take it apart again. But anyways, I just thought I'd mention it. Anyways, take care.